Having your suspension set up right can make a huge difference to the way you can ride a bike on the trail. So today we're going to look at the common mistakes that we see out on the trail with the way that people have got their bikes set up. In the early stages of getting a basic sag set up on your bike, make sure you've got all your riding kit on. You're not just in just a pair of shorts and t-shirt. You've got your riding kit on, you've got your helmet on. Very important, make sure you've got your riding bag on, filled with water, your snacks, your jacket, your tools. It's going to change the weight that you are and also your weight distribution. Having a bag on your back changes where that weight is on the bike. Make sure you've got it on for getting those base settings and a starting point to work from. When getting your base settings for your sag setup, it's worth thinking about what sort of terrain you're going to be riding. If you go in for a day riding in the bike park or you've got a load of downhill shuttles planned, you want to be making sure that you're setting your bike in an aggressive position because you're going to be riding the bike in an aggressive manner. If you're going to be going out on a ride where you're grinding out lots of miles and you'll be spending a lot more time seated, think about setting your sag in your seated position because that's going to allow for where your weight distribution is on the bike. So your aggressive position is going to be standing up over the front of the bike, and then your more mellow position when you're grinding out a lot of miles and you're seated more often, it's just going to be a more neutral position like this. It'll be interesting for you to see how the dynamics of the bike change and the shape of the bike changes depending on how much sag you've got on the front and back in those two different positions. If you want to learn about setting up your sag in a little more detail, go and check out mbr.co.uk where we've got a whole video explaining it. Once you start getting some settings you're enjoying and starting to get your head around, it's worth making some notes. Jot them down into your phone, put a sticker on your shock, write them down on there. Well worth having your notes, and then when you find things that work, and then if you move away from that, you know where to move back to. So you've got some base settings. If you move so far away, you don't know which way you've gone, you can go back to your base settings that you were enjoying the week before or earlier on in the season. Good way to get your suspension set up is to back a trail. So what you want to do, you want to find a trail that's got a large variety of terrain on it. Do lap after lap, changing your settings as you go. This way, you can find out what works for you and you can build a base setting. What I'd recommend is if you think you need to slow down the rebound slightly, don't just give it one click, give it 3 to 4 clicks so you can really feel the difference. If you feel you need to change your compression, do the same. You're going to find it hard to feel one click either side potentially. Setting up the sag on your bike, on the front fork and the rear shock, take into account the rider's weight and also your riding position and where your weight is on the bike. Something it doesn't take into account is how aggressive you are on the bike, how much strength you're able to put through the bike, how strong your upper body is. So you might find you've got to play around with how progressive or how linear your suspension needs to be to suit you and your riding style. With air suspension, you can tune this by using volume spacers. What it does, it either increases or decreases the air volume in the shock or the fork. Smaller the air volume, the more progressive the suspension is going to be. To get the most out of your suspension, you want it working well. You're not going to be driving a high performance car and not change your gearbox oil. It's the same deal. Change your lubricating oil, change your damper oil, you're going to get the best performance. You might not notice your performance degrading due to a lack of service until you get it done. Then you'll notice a big difference and you will dodge a pretty expensive bill getting things repaired.